Yeah, why not? If you're feeling it, dude, I don't want to stop that.
Right, it's just more. I'm almost finished.
Oh, okay.
You have to start over.
Yeah, start over.
We're on again.
Okay. So, well, I start over then.
Yeah.
Status, the ideas of a governance system is like we start. The first single governance system is just a single account. A single account can do whatever they want. They can hold accounts, they can buy tokens, they can vote, they can do whatever. Okay. So, but the governance is when a group of people wants to make transactions or want to take decisions as a whole. The first single governance contract that we know is the multi-sig. Okay, multi-sig 2 out of 3, for example, is just okay when there is two persons that want to execute a transaction, they can execute the transaction. And the multi-sig can do anything that a single transaction can do. It can buy tokens, can assign reputations, they can create other tokens, they can create an ICO, they can do whatever they want. They can bet in a future market. They can do whatever they want. They can execute any transaction. So the idea for governance systems is the output of the governance system is transactions that are executed, and they are executed as a group, as a single entity, as a contract. Okay. If you want, I think that the idea is maybe in the future it will be like as a proxy contract. For example, in the Uport concept. They have like the proxy contract. It's a very simple contract that the only thing that does is just throw transactions. And the only thing that has is like it holds this address, and this address represents your identity yourself. So this proxy contract can be used also, for example, for a company or for a multi-sig, for a group, for an organization. Okay, so the governance is what you plug here to one address, to one contract, to execute transactions on that contract. Okay. And of course, how do you decide which transactions to execute? This is the rules that define the governance systems, and this can be, as simple as a single multi-sig, and as complex as you can create elections, people, directives, more flat, with democracy, proposals. You can invent and you can create. Very, very complex futurarchy mix of them. You can create. I think the possibilities are infinite. I'm saying that okay, developers, we are programming governance systems, but we are not governance systems creators. I think here are sociologists and other lawyers even, or people that have much more experience from centuries ago, have much more experiences in how the governance system should work. And all these people needs to come to the system. It's like, it remembers very much when the web started, that the developers started creating webs, and we made very ugly webs and very unusable webs. But we were creating webs. Somebody need to create the first. And then when came the designers, when came people that were more close to the users, that were close to they start to appear very good web pages and much better user interface and so on. So governance is going to happen the same. Maybe the first governance models, the developers were going to create that, but do not use it. Yeah. They are not good. Okay, so it's a thing that we need to come and we need to improve. And of course, all this technology also opens to many governance options that they are not available in the current world right now. So this enables even new possibilities in governance systems. Okay, and the interesting thing is that going to be Giveth, Giveth. Maybe at the beginning, the governance that we are going to use is more multi-sigs or very simple models of that. Okay, but it can, every time that you see a person or every time that you see a role, you can plug there a governance. For example, when you see a reviewer, the reviewer can be a single person, just a single address. But it can be, for example, multi-sig easily, or it can be a DAO. When I say a DAO, another governance system that makes a proposal to do something and the other execute, and or maybe there is some people with more weight or less weight, or some special conditions that you want to build in the governance. Or the project manager. When you say a project manager, okay, the project maybe is one person that's just deciding where to spend the money, but maybe there is a DApp that decides how to spend the money in some sense. They do make proposals or whatever. Okay.
I'm excited for the reviewers that are just oracles. That's like, hey, did you know, I have a proposal to raise another, this month, I think I can double the amount of donations that were received last month. We don't need a person to check that. If we want to validate that, smart contract can do it. We don't even need a person.
Some things are very easy, verifiable by oracles, but there are things that are not so easy. Sometimes there are things that are more. You find a picture and you say if it's nice or not. Come on, this is not going to be an oracle that does that. It's going to be a governance system. It's going to be somebody humans will have to decide that. And humans, when we get together to take decisions as a whole, they need a governance system.
Yeah.
Okay? And here is the importance of why I think it's important to work very close to Aragon guys. Aragons are creating governance systems. So maybe the idea is that we can use all these governance models that they are creating, or the UI that they are creating, maybe in our groups, in our communities. I would love to have maybe a community of, I don't know, of donors or whatever, donors, delegates, projects, people inside the project that has his own governance system, his own model governance system, and they take decisions how they spend the money, what they do with the transactions, and they do it not as a single person that's executing something, but as a real decentralized organization following a specific governance. Yeah. So what would be nice, just for example, to Aragon, if they create a governance system, maybe the governance system that they are creating, it doesn't fit with one of the contracts. Maybe we'll have to modify, or we'll have to plug it, we'll have to adapt the governance systems. But I'm sure that we can use at least 80% of the work they are doing just to block on our.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're trying to build is a platform to experiment with governance systems. So we have a very strong baseline of delegated democracy, and this person delegates to that person. There's no voting. There is no governance system in ours. However, it's very easy to plug a governance system into it. At least that's how it's been designed so far. And so let's say Aragon has a new governance system that they want to test out. I'm really excited for them to decide to help homeless people in Barcelona, right? And start a charity and test out their new governance system live and develop it while trying to help the homeless people here in Barcelona, right? And they would be totally down from that because Luis is from Barcelona, right? But if he wants to experiment live, because you can test the code, and you can. This is what I'm going to talk about in a second. But you can test the code all day, and you can verify that the code will do what it wants to do. But you can't test humans without actually trying to test humans. You can't trust a governance system how it's going to work with real humans without actually playing it. And if there's no real money involved, then you're also not playing it very well. So with this system, you can have, if we implement governance systems like that in Giveth, they can test with real money, and but it'll be somewhat of a lower risk than the DAO, for instance, because it's not investors' money. It's people who care about the money being spent, well and effectively. But at least it's not like for-profit seeking, like that are gonna sue you if it doesn't work out. Like these guys, if not as many homeless people get fed, get clothed, and housed as they could have been in Barcelona, that's another ineffective charity. Like, okay, not like I invested in this and now I can sue you, which is a whole nother level. So I think that we'll be really effective working with teams that are practicing governance, like Aragon, and plugging in.
Yeah, and the other part of the community, of the governance, the governance are the rules, okay? But there is something that's much more important before that, and it's the communication part. Okay, we can make proposals, but before any proposal, there is talks, there is chats. People need to talk, needs to create community creation, and here is where status can. Okay, status is should be the tool to communicate, to connect the people from one to the other. Okay, and we have the advantage too that the status is very much connected with the technology because they are not only the chat part, they are not only the communication part. We can add the status very easily, the governance part. We can add the status very easy on the money movement or all the integration with with the Ether tokens, with the smart contracts that we are creating. So that's why we see Status and Aragon as strategic partners. Okay, of course they are projects that are in the very beginning, in the very early stage. It's a long run to a long time to develop them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we are very good connected with them.
We're aligned in our values with them.
We are just working
really
together.
well.
I think that we feel like the model that both of them they have. They feel we are very much aligned in how we see the future of these communities, of this ecosystem, of this space. Even from the technical point of view, I think we are very aligned in how to work. Both of them they're using, for example, the Mini and
also District, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
District's also using it.
Yeah.
And so is Swarm City.
And Swan City.
Yeah, but here I think these ones have even more than just using the Mini contract. They are using key. They are making key developments for the Ethereum space, but especially for us. Okay, so we need to fit very much together. So that's why we are working very much together. So we are in lots of parts. We are like helping, and we are like in the same team. We are in the same, playing the same role. Our interest is the status gets developed and have all the functionalities because we need to build on it. So if we need to have the status as much as we can, we will. Same with Aragon.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure they will help us just because they also need the applications. We are going to be for them. We are going to be just one user more.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's important user, but we are going to be a user more. So it's a good. I think it's a good. It can be good synergy. So it's very good that we are very good connected with them. I think that we can do lots of good things together. We can learn very much, even from the technical point of view. We need to see what technologies they are used, how we can plug one another. So we need to study very much what the technologies they are using.
We need to be able to interface
adapt very much with them, talk with them if there is something that we can improve all together. But the idea is when we say that we are constructing communities, we are creating communities, donation communities.
We're doing our. We are. We're like the non-profit version of our.
We need both.
Yeah. And also we're very well connected with Swarm City and District OX. And Swarm City already there's like a couple projects that we're working on with them right now. And while I don't see us interfacing with them as much because it's just a different system.
We are very much in the low level probably.
Yeah.
The high level we'll see.
Yeah, we are also trying to solve the same problems. Milestones. They want to implement milestones, and they want to implement this trail F. And just like Status has commit F. And commit F is Ricardo, which is, I think it's like 3S Smith or something like that, who's worked a lot with us. And then we have trail F, which is Flurkle and Spawnette. So, and also Rodney and Barry work with Swarm City all the time. So these are like the core. We're gonna be paying close, and they're all using all 3 or 4 of these guys are using mini-me tokens. So things that we might want to implement, polls or implementations built on our token. It will be useful for them, and implementations built on their token will be useful for us. So we have a lot of strategic alignment.
By the way, for example, we deploy the status, we finally didn't use it, but we have, for example, a pool smart contracts pool ready to use.
Are they going to use it for their fireside chat thing?
I don't know. If they ask me, of course,
they might just keep it informal.
But we still have done things, and we have things ready that voting systems for the mini contract. we have already developed. It's possible that we use them. We have, for example, some reward contracts for the minimum token that we are also think are using or are based on the ones that we have. So
we'll talk more about this later too, especially these guys, and when we get into projects that we want to pursue and prioritizing them.
Yeah, I don't know if that was in the plan of the agenda, but I think it's good to see how we are connected in the ecospace. Okay, and here probably in somewhere in here we are also very good connected with many people in the foundation.
Yeah, my wallet,
and we have all
MetaMask. I'm good friends with the MetaMask guys.
So we have, I think that in this part, I think that we have all. We cannot be bad. I think that we are perfect in the perfect position for for developing the project in this side. Of course, we need to define a good product. The product needs to work. Of course, we need to have good developers. That doesn't mean that I think this is very good. But if we don't do nothing, this is worthless. So it's like there is a lot of things to do. But in this side, we can have a lot of help, and we can work very close with all this space in the community.
I see this as the central value of Giveth right now. Yeah. It's like what is usable, like, because there is so many. I mean, again on these Reddits, there's always like the same thing. People say, well, what can you do with a smart contract? Nobody really uses smart contract, and I'm always like posting this list like of look. We didn't have something like Avalanche last year when we had nothing, and even like some fear. He was like on this show with this one Bitcoin guy, the crazy dude with a cap, and he's like he wanted to confront Zafir, and he was like, who's using what's a good smart contract? And he's like, I don't know. Didn't understand. So in the end, he said, well, the best one is probably a multisig. Which is probably a consensus among smart contract developers that this concept is very much fleshed out. But basically I wanted to say this is the thing we have now.
Yeah, the active dapp right now, Swarm City, is using smart contracts actively to actually perform commerce.
Yeah.
ENS is using smart contracts to actually register domain names. And F-Lance, and I don't know what's
that gambling.
We're not counting gambling.
Ether Delta.
Ether Delta.
Is
Decentralized exchanges. Are there any other smart contract applications though?
No, of course, ICOs. I know about
ICOs.
Crowdfund is the first application right now.
Creating currency in general.
What about Prism?
Prism, thank you. Yeah, Prism is a big one. Right? And I would say that half of these came out in the last 4 months.
True.
And we're going to start seeing a lot more. Giveth, right? Honestly, we have Evolve, we have milestone trackers. We're using them ourselves, but we are using them.
It's a long run. But
we're doing it a little different, where a lot of people are going. That's why I also like Swarm City, because we're pushing. We have the same idea on testnet. We could do it, but what's the point? Right? So, because testing the culture doesn't happen on testnet, right? And Swarm City feels the same way. They never use testnet. Now, of course, we have to use testnet a little bit, but instead of doing our milestones on testnet and then just like converting to Ether, we actually do it. So.
Yeah. So the thing is that
most of these applications are on testnet. Status is on testnet. They have all sorts of cool stuff on testnet. Argon's on testnet. They have cool stuff on testnet.
Uport, Token, they changed the name to something else. Token Browser.
Yeah.
It's like something Satoshi Nakamoto, like.
Yeah,
Toshi, I think.
Toshi. Yeah. Well, cool. I think I can go into culture a little bit. Last time I was so hopped up on coffee I could barely stand still. Now I'm a little like, I can breathe. I don't drink those drugs too often. Let's see. So we have. So I already kind of explained culture, but I'm just going to get back into it.
An
how important it is.
An L, please.
What?
It's there. It's there. It's just not. Yeah.
It's just not visible.
The L is imaginary. So because, after this conversation, it's pretty much all tech. But I think it's just, like I said before, there's 3 ways to solve problems. And money is one that we can distribute effectively, but time and effort cannot be distributed in code. And you need, usually, for complex problems like ending world hunger, or, the real issues that we want to solve, we need to be able to use all 3 tools. And with the code, man, money is great. These other 2, we need a strong culture. And all 3 need to work together. So we need to make sure that the code is, making the culture stronger and not the other way around. It's not about wrapping the culture around the code. It's more about the code just influencing the culture and pushing it in the direction that the culture is leading, is what I'm trying to say. And I learned this with the DAO really well, because when the DAO launched, I already talked about all the code lessons that we learned, but we learned that no one knew what they were doing. So the DAO, right? The curators had no clue what to do. We just threw them to the wolves, man. Half of them were thinking, oh my God, am I going to get sued? We gave them no instructions. We just said, yeah, this is what we think you should do, but you decide. That doesn't work. You have to give people a handbook, right? Same with DAO voters, DAO token holders. They didn't know what they were supposed to do. There was no forum. We were trying to let the DAO, we didn't even name the DAO, right? Huge mistake. Huge mistake. We need to spoon feed people the culture. We need to model the culture. Have a handbook that when someone says, I want to start this, they know what to do. Because I'll tell you, the DAO was, maybe it would have survived by some miracle, just because it had so much money. But people would have wasted a lot of time and a lot of effort going in a million different directions. And if we can align the culture and the code together and funnel all the efforts in the same direction, we'll be able to get communities to actually solve problems. So definitely we need documentation so that so if we can clearly define roles and clearly define what they need to do and document it well so that someone's like, okay, so I'm going to do this. I know what to do. Here's my 1, 2, 3 list. Done. Oh, that would be so helpful. I also think it's really important that we focus on connecting people with communication. Another thing in the DAO is we had no idea who was, there was no clear understanding of if you were a whale, you had so much influence on what was going to happen. If you had 1 million DAO tokens, your vote mattered more than other people. But if you're trying to actually make some kind of change, you don't know who to talk to. There's no connections. So we need to build that web, that network. It's so important. And to me, that's one of the biggest primary lessons. To build a culture, to build a community, you need to connect people, right? So we gotta just be connecting all these people and just have as many people connected to as many people as possible while still being efficient, right? I was just talking with Oz, and Oz was saying, we were debating how delegates should delegate money, right? So if you have one person we'll say this guy's a delegate, right? And he has 3 people that have donated, and then he has 3, we'll say causes. He has 3 causes that he needs to connect people to. He has a choice, kind of, right? He could connect each person to each cause, and then, or he could connect one person to each cause. And personally, I think the better option is to connect one person to each cause, because then all of their money goes one place. And if they will have more incentive to go to that one place and see where all their money is going and join that community. Whereas if it's here's 3 communities that you're connected to now and you're funding, they probably won't go to any of them because it's like, well, whatever.
Sounds
right?
like work.
Yeah, exactly. That's too much. I'm a little overwhelmed. And it's like, oh, all my money went into, helping dolphins? That's cool. I'll go check their Slack, right? All my money went to helping dolphins, owls, and varmints? Well, I like dolphins, but only like a third of my money went there anyway, so who cares, right? So these are the kind of, we could look at this and solve this problem by looking at the code and saying, wow, it'll be so much easier to just make it a percentage. But that's not going to help us make this decision effectively because it won't help build the community if we're only focused on the code. Okay. So I want to have tools like what we're trying to do with what I was saying we were trying to do with the milestones, where there's a reviewer, kind of a buddy system, and a mentorship, right? Because if we want to onboard new people, we need to have some kind of mentorship program. I really like what Swarm City House. The reason I really like connecting with Swarm City and consider them a strategic ally because they have built the best community in crypto, in my opinion. When you go to their Slack, there are tours 4 times a day. At least they're used to. I don't know if they still do. But they used to have these tours where 4 times a day, they'd be like, oh, hey, someone would come up and say, hey, welcome to the Slack. Let me show you all these different channels. I'll take you on a tour. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm connected to a real person. I'm being shown around, moved from location to location. These are powerful connections that you form. And then forever, you know that you can go talk to that person and ask them a question about what's going on. And so building these P2P, I'll call them culture builders, or like, look, I remember the L. This is going to be everything. And so building some kind of mentorship program, when someone comes onto the Slack, if we can figure out, if we can solve this for Giveth, then a homeless charity can solve that for themselves too. They can start modeling after us. Also, the teacher-student rules, because everybody's on a different level, and this is just something that's drastically needed in this space, right? There's so many different levels of understanding in crypto, and I see it on my Ether wallet all the time. Some people don't have a clue what they're doing, and they just have to try things, and they lose all their money, and it's so sad. And other people know exactly what they're doing, and are like, these guys are idiots, right? We need to bridge that gap. And I think with Giveth especially, if we can start taking on, you have a kind of like a sponsor, right? And somebody comes in, and they have to find a sponsor. And if we can start connecting people that way, I feel like, I don't know how to apply that yet, but I see it kind of as a tour, yeah.
I was surprised at this React Native conference. They were saying that they do a lot of paired programming, consulting, and just paired programming with people like on the Slack channel that they like, which is not really, I never thought of virtual pair programming before, but maybe that's something on the dev team we could implement a little bit of
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely agree, because that's what I'm trying to do with the review system and the milestones, where you have a reviewer. This week, you're going to bounce your milestone off that reviewer, get some feedback, come back, And this encourages this open communication. I hope we can switch reviewers often, so you don't get stuck, what do they call it? Like playing tennis or I can't remember.
Tea party. No,
tea party. No tea parties.
Yeah.
We used to say that in Foursquare, right? Hey, no tea parties. Like, share the ball.
But we should actually make a point to have somebody involved in your stuff every week, somebody else.
Yeah.
Because that also brings a good connection, because you have to make them relevant and you can discuss with that person.
Yeah.
So why not?
And
change every week.
Yeah.
And I would like that. I would like that.
And so Grace would be like reviewing my milestone or something?
Yeah.
For that week.
How's the milestone going? It's kind of long.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, and especially when you put it in there, it's like when you submit your milestone, it's like, hey Grace, is this a smart milestone? You know? And then it's like, yeah, it looks pretty good. Is this really relevant? And we like, yeah, of course it's relevant. Look at this Trello board. Oh, cool, okay. And then she gets to understand what's going on your side.
Like for everyone.
I get to go on this side.
Interesting.
And you just do it once a week.
Yeah,
you know?
once a week.
And then you're in. And
yeah.
What?
If everybody looks for somebody, I mean, this sounds like confusion. Like, oh no, I'm already with him.
It doesn't matter. You can be reviewing for everyone at once if you wanted to as well.
Yeah. What's important is that everybody has a reviewer.
Yeah.
It's not important that everyone is a reviewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think Jordi wants to be a reviewer, but he has to get one, right? So, like, it's two different things. So, I think that we can learn from. Oh, what was I going to say? Transparency. I want to just get rid of almost all the private channels. It doesn't make any sense to me, and especially if we have too many channels, that's okay, right? I think that we can really have a lot of benefit, especially with the holocratic method. If everyone can go and find what's going on in whatever they're curious about. So checking the channels and be like, oh yeah, like I want to know what's going on with the white paper, you know? And so, you know, we can go find the white paper channel. Or the reward DAO. Like, maybe somebody, right now the reward DAO is private, but like, you know, we can open that up. And, you know, this is going to be a really interesting thing how we deal with money and transparency. Because even just yesterday and the day before, I've had a couple money discussions with people in front of other people, right? And it gets weird. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. But it does, absolutely. So this is going to be really hard. Transparency and money, there's something that goes on in people's minds when money is involved. That makes it so much easier to have a money discussion one-on-one. I don't get it why, but God, I see it every time, and it's just so we're gonna discover these things, and we're gonna get to be confronted by them, and I'm excited to be confronted by them, so that we can actually solve these problems, because these are problems everyone's gonna have. But yeah, it's just weird, and you know, no one would have thought that. Right? Like, you don't go into this, oh, we have to solve this problem, right? Like, we discover it when we go to the extreme. And I think that when we start moving to the extreme on all of our values, we're going to discover a lot. Okay, so one of the other big things with the DAO is that we didn't have clear direction in the DAO, right? Yeah, that's good. I have most of these in my little notes. But the DAO was supposed to discover its own direction. Oh baby, that sounded so great. But really it's just laziness. Okay? I mean, we should have just made it the Universal Sharing Network DAO. And just gone with it. I mean, come on. We had it all locked down. That was our plan the whole time. I don't know why we didn't execute and just follow through. But we didn't, and that's not what Giveth can't do that. And so the next direction that I want to go with this is picking a direction for Giveth. And so what is our cause? You know, we're trying to build communities around a cause. Well, what's Giveth's cause? I mean, to me it's clear, but I bet if I asked everybody, everyone would have a different idea. Like if it said, put Giveth's cause in one sentence, we'd come up with 11 different sentences.
Isn't that good though?
It is good, except, and I actually think that no matter what we do, that's how it'll always be. Because we can't perfectly communicate, right? This is like why groups making decisions is really difficult. No one can, you know, we're using imperfect communication language. I'm like breathing air over my vocal cords and somehow it's supposed to like telepathically explain exactly what's going on. Get out of here. It's impossible, right? But I think that it's at least good to have the discussion so that everyone knows where they're coming from and what the cause is. So I'm going to start by seeding my cause because I have that advantage. We will be more effective if we can at least come to some sort of understanding of what the general cause is. So my cause is that I thought I wrote this differently actually, but we are built to build open source code and culture. Oh my god, I almost forgot the L. That enables nonprofit, decentralized organizations to thrive. To me, that's the goal of Giveth. But I'm curious.
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah.
Build
To
open source
Let me make
code
sure I
and
didn't
culture.
forget anything.
That enables non-profit decentralized organizations
To thrive.
That enables
We'll call this actually.
No,
I like Grace's language.
Decentralized.
non-profit. what?
Decentralized
I'm
organization.
going to change this to Grace's language because I like it better.
Non-profit. Sorry.
Decentralized, altruistic communities
to
to
thrive.
thrive. And this could be anything from, which is funny because this is how I discovered DAOs in the first place. It was always a dapp. That was the language BitShares
Yeah, because
used
that was
back in the day.
decentralized autonomous.
Corporations or
corporations.
companies. It
Companies.
changes it up a couple
Yeah, I
times.
remember that.
Right? But now we're taking a new spin on this.
Yeah.
And I really like this. At least we'll talk about naming if we have time tomorrow. But yeah, so what else can I throw up here that's missing in this that we need to add to it or subtract even? Give us cause.
I would say lower the barriers to make the world a better place. So that anyone can do anything that is good.
Anybody else? What do you guys want Giveth to do? What should our mission be? I know you guys have opinions. Jordi, I know you got
I
ideas.
just saw before. For me, it's just creating a platform, create decentralized, creating a platform to create communities, donation communities. To enable new kind of donations.
I just love the word revolution. I'm just going to throw it in there for you.
Yeah, it's a revolution. Everything is a revolution in this life.
Yeah, a donation
Any
revolution.
Any change can be tagged as a revolution. The problem of the word revolution is that it's in the subconscious. It's associated to the violence sometimes. And,
There were peaceful revolutions.
yeah, catalog word refers to this one.
Yeah!
But it's this the problem of this word is this has this hidden connotation
Yeah.
in the world. And
You know how we
sometimes
change
it doesn't work like that.
Evolution.
Put out the R.
Revolution?
Could
She
be
wants to get rid of the R. Oh, shit. Something else? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the E backwards.
Yeah,
too.
sorry. Making the injury out of it. Easy.
But the revolution at the end is the fight for the change.
Yeah.
So in this sense, it's absolutely applicable what we want to do, and not only to our project, to many projects. So if you want to change the world, you need to make a revolution, some kind of revolution in some sense. So,
At least in the minds of people.
yes.
Anything else? I mean, really? Does everyone agree with this?
I think it would be cool again. It would be the stencil
This what?
Stencil, like the stencil is the right word, right?
Yeah.
Stencil for other whatever companies or organizations to start something new. With the whole idea you have to build a community. Like when others would say, this is actually the idea or the model of the stencil we want to build on, that would be amazing.
Models for communities, for
Organizations?
org structures.
Yes.
So this is an interesting one because, like, for the most part, I didn't agree 100% with this one. For this one, to me, this is actually outside of our scope because at least my perspective, and this is what I'm hoping that we can have some challenging discussions because maybe I'm wrong, but from my perspective, I want to be the platform for other people to build this,
Yeah.
and
well,
so we can have a competition.
Yeah. Well, you say you want to work absolutely transparent, for example.
Yeah.
The fact that you talk with loads of people about money openly, transparent, and publicly is absolutely revolutionary because no one wants to talk about money. And if companies or organizations in a few years or even a few months or a few weeks say, oh, that's a good model because it is transparent and everyone can see what we do, then we build a stencil for them.
Yeah.
It goes in this direction. Of course, we want to build a platform
Mm-hmm.
where A and B are interacting, but we also build this, what you say all the time, the community or the culture we want to show to others.
Yeah.
So I think that is an important point.
I think you're right. I mean, I never really considered it. I always considered that what we're trying to do is something that's, is little governance, is little, structured as possible, or as little, the least rigid as possible, so that people can take it and change it. But at the same time, we are really trying to model and trying to be a stencil for people to follow, to be a cultural leader.
I understand the rewards are similar. I mean, everyone has the same voice. In which company do you have the same value of voice for everyone?
Yeah.
I never saw one.
Actually, it's good.
So that's a very good model. Sorry.
No, I interrupted you, but because I just wrote like it. Yeah, it's not finished. I would like to have an elaborate sentence like this, but I said system for equalizing fairness, which is probably what you were talking about. And we do it by saying money is a relevant factor in the missing distribution of fairness right now.
So the thing is, the problem is what's the perspective?
Yeah.
What's the perspective of the fairness?
The fairness is the altruistic thing. The fairness is it has to be case by case. Fairness is something.
Even a single case. Do you agree with me that my fairness and your fairness may not be the same?
Yes, but when we talk to each other, we can listen to each other what fairness is and come to a new fairness that's shared between the two of us. That's why we have a culture as well as the thing.
But it cannot be the same. And with two persons, imagine when you are.
I said I'm not 100% behind these words. It's just.
Well, no, I mean, I think that Jordi's got a good point there, and that, but at the same time, I couldn't agree more. Where honestly, I'm doing all I can to avoid issues where this isn't possible, and that's why I don't want voting in my system, in the Giveth system, because it creates situations where you have an unequal way, like the reward DAO, for instance. Everyone starts equal. But then at the end of it, you're not. Different people get different amounts of money. And that's an interesting issue. And the reward DAO is something I didn't want to have to do. But I had to address a specific issue, which is like people wanted to contribute and don't get incentivized to continue. So there's, But anyway, and that's why it's almost to the side. It's something we're doing. It's our own little game. But it's not part of the core system. It's not part of the core Giveth model where, every donor is equal. If they donate 5 ether, or if they donate 100 ether, they have complete control of their ether the whole way. They are connected to one delegate, just like everyone else is connected to one delegate. They have control over all of their money, and everything is relatively equal, even though one's a whale and one's a fish. Jordi, you disagree?
Well, yeah, no, it's very philosophical discussion. It's like salaries, for example. Well, do you think that the salaries are in a normal company? Okay, who do you think that determines, that says what's the salary of each one?
Yeah,
it's not inside. It's not even the boss.
It's the market.
It's the market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the reward now. Okay, you can do whatever, but at the end, the salaries are by the offer and demand of the market.
This is why the reward DAO is not a salary. It's a reward, right?
Okay,
And
yeah, but
people. I mean, this is the issue that it's solving. That people don't want to evaluate their labor in advance and cheapen the quality of their experience by doing it for money. And then at the end, they get this like reward.
A very, very smart thing, which I heard once, is that money actually is the thing we use to give a value to something. It's the language of value. That's money for us. It's just, it has been perverted by so many things, but that's like one of the basic things is this is the pure form of giving value to something. And it could be even like a personal value, but it's not our culture yet, or will never be. I don't know. This changes.
I read this beautiful book called Sacred Economics, and have you read that one? No. And he theorizes, and it's probably just complete bullshit, but he theorizes that money actually was created when people started giving things to other people, and that it was a gift economy was the first economy. And that when you were a traveler, you would carry some kind of small, single thing that you had abundance in. Maybe it was cacao beans, maybe it was clam shells, maybe it was just beautiful rocks, right? And that when you would meet somebody and they would take you into their home and you would work with them, you would be able to give them something in exchange that you thought would have value to most people. And so you would give them some rocks. And you're traveling through and you give the next guy some rocks. And he would give you some food, and that this is this idealistic version of how money could have started. And whether it's true or not, I like the concept. Money has a use, it has a value. It's been perverted. It's in our culture or something. There's something broken the way we structure money, which is why in the culture I want to build, money needs to be taken out of it as much as we can. It puts people in a frame of mind that is competitive and the antithesis of building community. It separates people. It doesn't connect it. Money puts this like weird frame of mind. Just like when I have a discussion about money in front of a bunch of other people, it makes an awkward situation, and I want to remove that opportunity for awkwardness where I can. Or where we can. If we have to, obviously you can't, right? We're talking about donating money. And so when you go to the donation page, money's got to be there, right? And when you go to managing your portfolio, money's got to be there. You want to know how much your money is here, how much of your money is there. But when you're just looking at causes and like, I'm feeling really like generous today. I want to donate to this or donate to that. I like whales. I like cats, right? I don't want to be throwing out, this guy needs to raise $1,000, Like, that's really powerful if you're a speculator doing an ICO. It's less powerful if you're a do-gooder, feel happy person that's like, I want to help kitties, Okay, Jordi?
I agree that we need to fight against the connotation of the money that people have. But the way to fight against that is not hiding, avoiding that. We need to front that. Money, we are in the crypto economics, right? So we said, and the money is a very good tool, and it's a very nice tool.
It's 1/3 of the tools.
Okay, but it's an important tool, especially if we are in the crypto economics. We are not in the medicine, or we are not in the animals care. We are in crypto economics, and there are two things that are important. One is the cryptos, so the math and all the stuff, and the other is the economics. And the economics mainly is this money. Agree 100%. The connotation, the way that we understand the money, and the perversion that's besides the money. Agree 100% with you. But I don't think that we need to. The way to solve the problems is not to avoid the problems. The way to solve the problems is to front the problems. So we need to educate, to explain, to work on. But I think it's not a good idea to hide that.
I agree to a point. Okay, I don't want to hide it, but I do want to frame it. Okay, it's just like, I'm trying to think of a good example. So I can think of a bad example, really bad examples, I shouldn't say. Like if you're on a first date with somebody, you want to put your best foot forward. It's like, okay, I have a girlfriend already. We'll say that, right? And it's like, you have to confront that issue, but maybe not in the handshake, right? Like, maybe you frame it so that, yeah, I'm actually in a relationship, but it's this or this, right? And you don't say, I have a girlfriend, right? But you do address the situation, right? So, like, my main thing is that I definitely want to communicate, hey, this milestone needs some money, right? But I don't want to communicate this milestone needs 37 Ether, because that communication puts you in a quantification mindset, right? And if you get in this quantification mindset, your emotions get messed with. Whereas you can still stay somewhat in a quantification mindset, like this milestone is 98% the goal, without having to get into the money part that like puts in the perversion, right? And if you want to know the money, all it takes is one extra click, right? And then you have it.
At the time, I said, why is that true? I didn't know that it was a feature of the system to know how much a milestone has been funded in total. Like, I thought it was more important for me to know how much money I put in it, But then why should I know? Unless you guys think we should, but why should I know or even think about how much money it has an aggregate, or what my percentages to that?
Yeah, well, I think that it would be cool to know that you funded 30% of the cement for that foundation, for that orphanage, right? I don't necessarily think it's important that you know that you put in, $157, as much as it's important that like 30% of that awesome, delicious, good act was because of me, And that's the validation, that gives you all the things, without the like, oh, well, what I could have done with that money is all these other things, right? And it's a mindset, it's a perspective.
I think, if I may add to yours, I like that idea very, very much also, because it takes you away from what we have already conceived in the crowdfunding platform, and that sort of vehicle that you always have a goal and you have to reach that amount and so on. And if we are going away from it, we are creating a new way of looking at things and taking that money away from it. So yeah. I like that.
I mean, the thing is, I feel like we handle the money better than anyone else. We handle that solution in the back end. It's just like you don't have to show people the database that you're using. We handle that no money gets wasted. I mean, we put so much effort into that we can focus our UI on the time and effort more than, and keeping people in that giving mindset and community building mindset. How do you
focus on the time and effort?
Well, we focus on how close it would just avoiding the money mindset, because they will focus on, wow, I want to help this go through. Oh man, I sent in some money. It's not helping very much. It's still like 50% to goal. Maybe I can join the community and put in some time. Maybe I can talk to the people that are managing this project and actually connect with them and put in some effort, and seeing that as an option. Whereas if you just throw the money out there, that's the option you see. And so, well, I'm just going to donate. It's like, I want to help this cause. There's so many other ways than donation, you know?
Can we agree to getting like, so this is kind of like exposing metadata as kind of like CSS or aggregate data.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and choosing which way.
Yeah, which one. And the capability, since we might have different purposes, maybe we want a different view where all we use see the money or something like that. We can kind of come up with just like that list of data that we want as a requirement from the backend. Not totally certain exactly what we're going to expose or how we're going to expose it. And that's usually kind of how it is. But by leaning towards options, like, yeah, we're going to expose, on the back end, it's going to have all the JSON or all of the data that it needs to do with several of these, but then we can kind of pick and choose as we go along which ones are actually giving us the user experience that we want.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be like a totally excluded from the back end side. So we could kind of like get more than we actually show, just putting it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree. I mean, we got to get all the data out to the front end and then decide how to display it. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and we'll do some user studies and we'll figure it out. But at least, and this is a whole. Actually, we got on a whole. We digress strongly.
Yeah, but add one more thing to this thing. Like,
yeah.
Kind of effort. And this is why I kind of like maybe the video concept more of like creating a culture around, because it's like it's hard to make a video. You know, it's like it just is. It's harder to make a video than it is to take a picture and type some text. So even though there could be scam artist video people, you know, it's like you're going to go through much more effort. And so it kind of creates this fine little security in it. On top of that, videos are consumable. Kids like videos, apparently, from what I see as teenagers doing it all the time. And I think that also video takes time and effort. You're showing things that take time and effort. It kind of seems to kind of like, as opposed to, focusing on some other stats.
But you know that there was also a study that said that projects that actually showed a video were more likely to be funded than the ones that didn't, or that had pictures instead. So there is a connection, a very strong connection that is made through the videos.
It makes people relatable instead of like being on a text or on a picture. You just can't. It's so important. Like, you know about the communication. I don't know what 30% is like surface communication, and the rest is subliminal.
Yeah.
So, and with a video, you can get so much from that subliminal stuff. I can't smell you if I just watch it, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And feel the temperature and stuff. But.
Well, okay, so we digressed off of the main thing, which is figuring out what our mission statement is and just brainstorming around it. I'm not necessarily saying we have to have a vote and say we all agree with this, but like, is there anything else that people want to add to this before I erase it and take a picture of it?
I like make the world better.
Is there
I like the donation revolution. For me, it's like this is really supposed to be the disruption of this whole system, because it bugs me forever and ever. Like every time you see the ads on TV for give money to this and this, and I just always immediately when somebody from Greenpeace approaches me, there's overhead. The only thing I have in my mind is overhead. Like, yeah, but I don't want to pay you for
this. Is the worst of that.
One more.
The worst of that is that
I think it should be
you want to donate,
like
building a product without donating,
or doing trustworthy
donation. This is
trustworthy donations, like
trustworthy.
This is very hard for the
trustful, whatever.
No, this is very hard for the money. No, because
trustless.
The lack of transparency, the lack of just doing the thing of very few people, of very few organizations, is affecting a bunch of people that they are trying to do good things.
Yeah, I want to give one example. I think I told it before, but maybe in Berlin, so I can do it again. I had last year, no, this year. Yeah, early this year, I was blood donating for the first time. And I think they changed the system, or like we have a very modern system in Austria for blood donation. So you get there, they fill in your data and everything. And they took my blood, and like 2 weeks after that, I get a message on my mobile, and it says, "Thank you for donating. Your blood just has been given to one patient in this hospital." And I was like, I have to go donating again, like as soon as possible. This little, and this is not possible without technology. I can't imagine like 10,000 monkeys writing messages to people. This is exactly what we're doing. Like if you with this was the key information for me that says, wow, I want to do it again and again and again, because this gives me the feedback I needed to see that it really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, and I feel like that should be part of this, is connecting donors and recipients.
Yeah. Creating these communities, enabling these communities.
Yeah.
That you are more than a donor. Okay, you are part of the community, and you are helping. You're really helping the community because you are part of that community, and that's a change in the donor concept.
Yeah, I think a very good concept is like when you have like you support a child in another country, and then you get these letters like back and forth.
Yeah, but the problem is that here that's not a good example from my side, because here was a big scam with one of those.
They didn't send a video, did they?
Yeah, they didn't do a live stream directly to the kid.
And I tell you one thing, even in this system, there's going to still be scams. Right? It's not. This is part of the human.
Yes. We have to live with it.
But I feel like first that there should be much less scams, and the same communities will create a new mechanism to avoid more of these scams.
Yeah.
Right now, no. Yesterday was a big scam in Ethereum. The last weekend, there were many scams made in the wallet and so on. Crypto space is fighting against scams a lot. I'm sure that we will learn very much on that, to fight on that side. Of course, it's a long run. It's not something that we are going to solve now. But if we work as a community, if my other wallet, if Taylor just tries to fight, she alone, she will not fight. She will not get anything. If the community fights against the scammers, maybe you have the possibility to reduce that.
Yeah.
And you see, for example, my other wallet, okay, they scam something, okay, they get something. But the total amount that
the scammers got something.
The scammers get something, yeah. But the total amount they get is ridiculous on what they could get if they were not the community protecting them and fighting against scammers. Okay, so that's an example of why the system should work. Not because there is going to be one company or one big institution that's going to fight with. It's going to be a full community that's going to fight to these scammers.
Yeah.
Scammers are going to still be there. Okay, we are not going to avoid them at all.
No, but we could build a Giveth community. We can build a dapp against scammers, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure that the same communities, they will try to avoid and they will find ways to work against that as a whole.
Well, but especially communication, because for example, on Skype, there's an anti-phishing group that we're in, and we're all talking about it. And Grace was talking about a token offering that she was helping with that was outside of the loop on that.
Yeah.
And if they're trying to stop scammers on their own, right, they're going to be a lot less effective than if there's this open, transparent organization that they can join and ask for advice. Because the second she told me about that, I was like, oh, well, we have this huge document with 1, 2, 3, 4 that Taylor incredibly created, right?
Yeah, you have to do for this scam, you have to do that, and there are steps that are already solved.
But the biggest piece that needs to be solved is the distribution of information and connecting people for that communication connection to flow, like for that information to flow.
This anti-scam, I think, is a value that we can join, and I want to just underscore. I'm going to say that again. We are not going to avoid scammers.
Of course not.
We are going to have always scammers. Okay? We are not going to see a world without scammers.
But what's nice is that in the charity system today, there's a lot of scammers, and they hide in the darkness. And if we have a completely transparent system, it's there's a lot less scamming going on because you can see it and you can see where your money is going and oh, it went to a scammer, right?
At least it's going to be much more difficult for them.
It's going to be harder. Okay, so I want to get back to this. I like this connecting donors and recipients. I think that's like a major piece of this, or connecting givers, we'll say, because donors and recipients, they're just giving different things. Donors are giving money, recipients are giving time and effort. That's it. They're both givers, right? And so we're just connecting all the givers together. Yeah, is there anything else that I should add to this? Trustful donations, which is kind of what we're talking about here with the transparency, and also it connects to that as well. Because if you know that if you get this validation, you get this, hey, your money went to this. I mean, there would have been a little dilution if you would have gotten like 10 alerts that said, hey, you helped 1% of this and 1% of that, 1% of that. Knowing that you helped this one person.
Here I can look for myself. The other system is different because it just makes no sense for me to have my own page with the red cross and look it up. But in this system, I check it myself because there's lots of data, more data than your thing has been received.
I think the same feature though. You could get a push notification that was like.
That's for you guys too, yeah.
That was like, hey, that milestone was just completed. Here's a video.
Yeah, but it should be probably the important things like this, like when there's something definitive happen. Like you said, there was no delusion of information. I just got this one information that was really so powerful that it was like, wow.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else we should add to this? I'm going to erase it. So I want to talk about values. Maybe I'll...
Are you keeping money, time, and effort?
No.
Because I really wanted just to say that these three, because you wrote them like this, because you link them all the time.
You want me to keep them?
No, it's just like, it's money, time, effort, and they are...
Yeah,
basically, you're talking about how you...
Triforce.
Yeah, like every agent has one of those at least, so it's a connection between those, I think. What we're talking about on some greater level.
I guess one thing I want to mention here is open source. No one disagrees with that, right?
Nobody disagrees with that.
RJ? You smiled. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, I think everything else is pretty easy. So, and culture. We agree we're trying to build a culture. Coders.
I agree.
I know the lead of the culture does.
But how does everyone feel about decentralized altruistic?
Well, wait, no. I want to know about the devs in the room because I have about a bunch of people that probably could give a fuck about the culture because they're building code and the code is law. Okay.
That's what they say.
I've never said that before.
But in an effort to be fully transparent, it's like we're trying to like make these decisions about how to build stuff, right? And I'm interested in exploring all options, right? But it's like if there's some crypto thing that's not getting it done, it's like I just want to put in the thing that gets it done, and then later on when that thing matures, great, we'll use it. If we build things separate enough, it's like we shouldn't have to like depend on one thing to be our like end all be all, but.
So maybe without idealism?
No. I'm just putting a little caveat there that it's like, as of now, like we made the decision to use React.js, right? And that was written by Facebook, but it's what we already did something else in, and it's the shit in some other ways. It's like we could go out of our way to use something else, but it's like I think it's kind of, for me, it's like I decided to go with React.js. Other people voted that way too.
Yeah, Jordi and I were not in that discussion, so we want to at least have a voice. But we'll
well, that's a good. That's good. Yeah, I guess that's a good question. Maybe I feel like the results speak for themselves. It's like choosing.
But in the end, we'll probably go to React. But I want to at least put out the Argon connection because I don't know what that was discussed. But either way, this is off topic.
Okay.
Like I agree with this to a point because I don't know. Like right now, we're not following this. We're being as idealistic as possible. Really, we're saying decentralization to the max. our website takes 20 seconds to load. How annoying is that? Our dapp, because we decided to go serverless.
20 seconds?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I need
That's
120
idealism.
seconds consistently. Personally,
It depends on if you have MetaMask or not.
I do have MetaMask. But
Ouch.
I assume that that's what most people experience.
No, for me it's about
20
10,
minutes, 20 seconds?
It was much longer that
Much longer.
Yeah, for me also.
You can fix
So yeah, that's exactly, that's one challenge that we're going to start off solving right away, right? And if, I don't think this is the case, but let's say Amazon had like some sort of solution and it was just like, yeah, we can cache the shit out of this for you, you know, and you'll have it available all the time, you know, it's like, then I would like to have the freedom to, from the tech team to like, for us to try it and do it while we solve these other real, you know, blockchain's issues. And then in the future, it's like, yeah, sure, great. IPFS came out with an awesome feature, and we started using it from the very beginning anyways. We just noticed that they were good with this, but not necessarily good with this. So we took this and we stored this someplace that's like kicking the world's ass in it, you know? And then when IPFS beefed that up, then we put that over there. But there's no point in like building a platform on broken things while we're trying to build something that works ourselves.
Yeah. I think that we're going to have a lot of pushback on this in general. Because I'll tell you, we're an idealistic group. So it'll be interesting.
Because as
I'm
soon
not
as
going to
I
say
move
that this is
people,
going to make that cut.
I know.
But I think that will be a constant battle.
So we decided to fight about this, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It'll be good. It'll be compromising. We'll practice the
I
compromise.
hate, you know how I feel about compromise.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move to values. Okay, because this is really important. And then that's the end of this cultural discussion. And we can get to it. So I already did the milestone stuff. And we can get to the next stop. So I feel like it's pretty easy to say that accountability is a pretty strong value. No arguments.
no.
No.
Transparency.
Transparency.
What else?
Innovation. Inclusion.
Yeah.
That's what you said before.
Yeah. Exactly.
Peer-to-peer communication and
That's
transformation of value.
I don't know if it's included in the other ones.
What was it? P2P.
A communication and transfer of value. But communication is probably enough.
Yeah. Info.
Inclusion of what?
New ideas, new people, just being
People.
inclusive of.
Oh, inclusion.
Yeah, I mean,
People and
can mean
ideas.
many things.
Well, innovation is kind of
Inclusive.
inclusive, but I don't know. I think inclusion. People. So these are all the ones I came up with. I'm sure you guys got others.
Distributed systems, distribution, it's peer-to-peer in some sense.
Okay.
Decentralization.
That's also P2P.
Yeah, it's in the traceability. Okay, it's also in accountability and transparency, but
Altruism is really a value of us. It's missing right now.
What else we got?
there is one that I like very much. I don't know if you use it, but it's very much related to the blockchain.
Yeah.
It's reliability.
What?
Reliable.
Reliability.
Reliability. Whatever it's
Yeah. Uptime.
called.
Reliability.
How about commitment?
Commitment. What's commitment?
You do what you say you're going to do.
That's accountability, though.
That's the
I would like to put the anti-forgery aspect of the whole, the immutability of the, at least the tech.
Single
That,
source of
that's
truth.
why we believe in blockchain so much. I think is a big part for me is at least this immutability. He laughs. I don't want to know.
You say inalienability.
Immutability.
Immutability, yeah, that's another part of
I'm going to call that consensus.
But that's very different.
Is it?
Immutability is the thing
Not
that
being
you
able to
cannot change a thing that's in there. It's a blockchain feature. It's the blockchain feature.
I would say that I would argue against that,
But consensus is first.
well, I would say immutability is not true, and the DAO proved that.
Come on, Griff.
It's true.
Yeah, but
That's not true. No ether was lost. It was just transferred.
ETC is there.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, we were able to break the rules, and the rules were not immutable. That DAO is not that DAO that the hacker created, and all the split DAOs that were ever created. We actually broke their rules, broke the rule, and agreed as a community to throw immutability away.
That's not the same thing. You
That's
threw a
true.
consensus away.
No.
You forked
We
it,
reached
yeah.
consensus. 100% we had consensus because anyone who didn't upgrade could go to ETC.
Yeah, and that's what they did. So it got forked because there was consensus missing. If there was consensus over the whole thing, we would not have ETC.
See, exactly that is true. But consensus was maintained, and the people who didn't have consensus had their other tokens. So consensus was maintained here, and consensus was maintained here. At all times, there was consensus over what the true chain was. It's just all of a sudden it broke into two different groups because this group said immutability wasn't important. And so they broke immutability.
But it's this, you see? What happened was innovation, because there was a failure in the system, and with consensus, you reached, and the system was immutable all the time. There has not been one block changed in the whole...
This is semantics, but I would say that consensus was maintained, because everybody who decided to break immutability had to upgrade their software. And so we had 100% consensus on Ethereum and 100% consensus on ETC, but Ethereum lost immutability, and ETC maintained it. So at least this is how I see it. And it's a perspective thing, and it's also.
But was
very much
there something changed in the fork? I think
Yeah.
what came afterwards was changed. No,
No,
they
no.
really
In
changed
the
blocks
fork-
that happened.
In the fork, the DAO's hacker had money here, and we created an illegal transaction, and we all agreed to it. So something that should have been immutable, something that should have been illegal, because of we reached economic consensus around breaking immutability. So
Okay, I give you that.
Is that core values we have for ourselves, or is that
Giveth.
Giveth has for itself?
You can put the
Or
immutability.
is that a core value you want others to see it?
that to me that has to be the same thing because of this.
Okay, then I just have when this will become a super successful project, no questions asked, but people will ask you how you did this.
Uh-huh.
And then the organization again has to be a point.
Organization.
Like you need behind the whole project is a good team. So imagine GQ interviews here, right? It says here, this is the green.
Talk to Jen.
No.
Why
Talk to
did
Grace.
Yes,
I don't
that's
talk to
okay.
GQ.
Yeah, you would only say, why do you have these advertising partners? Why are you promoting stuff? Yeah, makes no sense.
It just won't work out. I would say, honestly, immutability is a questionable value because for one of the things, and decentralization, some of these things we're going to do the best we can, but we're going to have, in our current system, we have arbitration. We have a role of arbitrator.
Maybe I think Grace say that there is one that's it's not a synonym, but it can work in a maturity. It's a commitment.
Commitment?
Yeah.
So accountability?
No, the commitment.
Okay.
So probably it works better than immutability because at the end, immutability is a commitment that the data is not going to change.
Yeah, and
So it's not a Giveth value, it's a blockchain value. Sorry.
no, it's okay. I mean, the other thing is we're not building autonomous organizations, at least to start, and so they're not necessarily immutable. And this specific, I'll write down commitment, but specifically immutability and even autonomy is not possible without your own blockchain, in my opinion, or your own country. Because, and that was proven by the DAO, that if you are in the Ethereum ecosystem, then technically they're the ones that are autonomous and you're under their regulatory supervision. And Ethereum regulated against the DAO hacker. And that's a really interesting thing. But I honestly, we're going to keep using the word DAO for a long time. But in my opinion, if you don't have your own blockchain, you can't be your own DAO. Anyway, commitment, organization. Is there any other big values that we should throw out there? I like, Kirch has got to be happy that accountability is right on top.
We can put love there just because,
Oh
I mean,
God,
we have
yes.
altruism, but love is greater
Okay,
there.
accountability
Yeah,
got, I actually put love in, I don't know, Jason put an extra thing in the campaign deployer, like just an extra field, put love in every time. So it's hidden in there in the background data, but in every one. Hell yeah. Anything else? Okay, that's long and fast. Okay, so does someone write this down?
Yeah.
Jen, you're the best. Okay, so we have, what time is it? 7:20.
Exactly.
And on our agenda, there is a lot of stuff we didn't get to. The biggest ones, I think, are that shouldn't be moved to tomorrow are the current state of the dapp and the current state of the smart contract architecture. Now, I don't know that we have time to do both, but I'd like to start with one. Do you want to start, Vojtech?
I can start, yeah. Okay. Can someone load that for me?
Of course, man, sorry.
Can I have I'm just straight chill. Yes. You're welcome to chill too.
That's a nice chair, right? Yeah.
Hi, sorry, how does this work?
What do you mean? I need you need more cable way? Or you need me to put it on?
I mean, if there is more cable, that would be amazing.
Yeah, you just have to, it's a very light projector, you can...
Sure,
wait a
but I
second,
want
wait,
to
let's do
move
like this.
it in front of the camera and stuff.
Oz, I got your cup.
Okay. That would be great.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just like this.
Sorry for that.
I want you to have space for your computer. So.
Can the camera still see the
Yeah,
things?
I'm just checking.
Mm.
Wait. It's still like, we have a delay, yes, we have a long delay. Okay. So like this.
Maybe I should not mirror myself.
Sorry.
Yeah, much better. So current state of that it's loading. Maybe now we can time it. We can time it. This is 120 seconds. Okay, but basically KKX and Rodney were helping me a bunch. So the current state is that we have a master version, which is very, very old, from maybe May, that is right now deployed, and that's where the dapp.giveth.io points to. Then we have a developed version where we did a lot of improvements, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's unified and everything. It shows which network you are, where are you. If you don't have a MetaMask account unlocked, it also shows that. Down there.
Where does it show that?
It's here. Okay. How do I load my MetaMask account?
Just put it out.
Put the little settings
Oh,
bars
you're in.
on the top right. The little three
Top right.
bars.
This?
Yeah, I mean,
click
he's
out.
already in.
And then all up.
Oh, okay.
I want to lock it.
No.
So now it shows. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Ah.
And I like the sync in the upper corner too. That's nice.
Okay. But basically, we all know that there's not really a long future for this app in the current form, and that the next one will maybe be built on top of it, but like concept will be different. So the idea, and it even before we discussed it, because we had a little discussion with Oz, with Rodney, and with Zdeněk when you were doing your thing there. And basically the idea is that we're going to test the difficult things on this dapp, not really evolve it much more, and make sure that this can help us to build dapp 2.0 or 0.2 actually. And I've had a look at the Trello board, which I can also link. And the Trello basically shows that. So even currently in the Trello board, all the high priority problems are exactly that. So find a way how to add one milestone to an active campaign. Okay. Add possibility to price milestone in non-ether currency and to use non-ether currency. Inform user if there is an error. Automate solutions with node running. All of these basically are what we need to solve for the version 2.0 and are not really immediate fixes for the current app. So that's a current status. I think the current dapp is workable, is something that can be used, but that's my question exactly here to you, Griff, and to anyone else. What is missing in the current app, and can we merge the current developed version, which you are using, into the master and use that?
The biggest one is finding a way to make adding a milestone without canceling the campaigns.
But that's rewriting the milestone tracker.
I think it could be done from the front end.
What
I
is
think
the
that you
issue?
could basically every time you want to add a milestone, you have to add. If you just add one milestone, it deletes all the other milestones that are pending, and creates one milestone.
So like in that in progress thing there?
In progress, it deletes, all of them. It cancels them.
Yeah.
Right. It cancels them.
Okay.
Which I think that would be okay to cancel. What you can do. Let's say that there's one in progress. Now I could add another one, right? And I would just have to re-add the one that's in progress, right? And so to me, I would think that you could easily, instead of me having to do that manually, just automate that where the in progress ones are, there's a button that says add milestone without deleting the rest, right? And then it does still delete the rest on the contract, but it's it actually re-adds them for the user.
Well, that's easy then. But there's still limitation of 12 milestones.
Yeah, but here, here is we have one thing is in concept on we need to do this. If we want to continue in that, and you're right. So I tell you, it's a smart contract. I wrote a smart contract, and the smart contract was a commitment between a donor and a doer, okay, a maker. Here, we just take the donor out of the map in some sense, and we just use like the maker and if you want the reviewer. Okay, so it's like the donor don't need to decide anything, so because they accept always. Okay, you are acting, you're making like two papers, like the donor and the maker. That's why there is one step there that makes no sense for that. So there's one thing that's in the main essence, the main idea of the smart contract. Okay, that's one thing. And then there are details. Please, for example, the first bar, the 20 seconds delay bar, you can have a cache easily. Just store the last state of and just show the what you get in the last time you open the application and when you
local.
Yeah,
Local cache, right?
that's quite easy to do. Okay. The other thing is, and we were thinking this very much with Tom and so on. It takes a lot of time. The sense of it takes a lot of time because this makes a lot of queries to the blockchain. Okay, because to the JSON without the information there. Okay, and that means that all this data it goes through MetaMask. It goes to the MetaMask and it's going back and forward like I don't know 200 times to the MetaMask server to do all that stuff. That's the big problem. The thing is that the best way to solve that, because at the end, instead of having a MetaMask server, we have our own server, and we just make one call to return the JSON, and the server just does what MetaMask does. It just queries it takes the information that then the real information you will get that way. So that's to solve these issues. Okay, for what Griff says, I think is right. It's more difficult because when you want to add that, it's like okay, you want to do that in many transactions. One thing that sucks very much is that MetaMask can only do one transaction at a time. I don't know if that they change it then. It's like
it's just one. So the
one at a time. So
also
I think this kind of automations that you may want to do like 3 transactions because you are doing the stuff you want to automate. This sucks a little bit, but well, maybe you need to explain that. Yeah, for me, from the dapp also, for me, it's like when I see this info, just move up. Here, probably, but this is more a design thing. For me, I see a lot of numbers. I will just change the order. Probably I will put the molestants at the beginning, and on the bold, the owner, all this stuff for me is not important. As a user, I put it maybe the.
Are you, as the user and the only user of this dapp, I need that information.
Okay.
Right at the top.
Yeah, but that's probably. But okay. Yeah, if it's an application specific information.
Every time I go to the milestone, I have to automatically add the vault's address, which I don't even see on here anymore, actually. So that's not cool.
Yeah, but you are a special advanced user.
No, to add a milestone, you have to put that in.
Like let's be fair here, okay? Will we make someone else use this dapp in the current state?
Yeah,
all of us.
maybe. Well, yeah,
No,
thanks.
all
So
of us are going to have to use this dapp.
Okay.
Right.
Let me
To get
rephrase.
paid.
Someone else who is not given.
Okay.
No.
Do we need to make those changes? Do we need to commit resources to make those changes right now? Like, okay, no. Do we need to make big changes? Rather than, adding one address here is how long it takes, 1 minute?
Yeah. Or caching the campaigns, that's 20 minutes worth. There's certain things that are fast. But.
Personally, I would say that we need to work with this dapp and understand how to use it as Giveth and understand it's like, if we all have to, it's called dog fooding is the idea, right? If we all eat the dog food will taste better, right? We'll make better food for our dog. Okay, if we had to eat it, we wouldn't give it to them. And I agree, maybe we'll never give it to them, right? But we will learn the user experience and what is missing. If we actually have to play with this,
okay,
and we actually let it get better and use it as the first one that we're throwing away, and knowing that we're throwing it away, but actually learn from it, then we'll learn those lessons without going the wrong direction on the new one. Was my theory or strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, but not only for the user interface, not only for the user interface part. For me, it's important to learn how to structure, how to create dapps. Okay, there are a lot of technology here. We investigate a lot of things in React, Redux. There are a lot of technologies here. You know, the connection with the blockchain, some structures that we tested in this application. We tested a lot of technical ways to do dapps. Okay, and none of us, nobody in the world made dapps before. Okay, yeah. So we are like the first persons that are doing dapps, and some of us, it was the first time using React. I don't know if we used it before. There were like a lot of technologies that we tested in that dApp. And for me, the key of doing this dApp, more important than the same dApp, the dApp by itself, was just to learn all these technologies and to be more prepared to take better decisions and to make better dApps in the coming dApps.
And I would go even further to say beyond the code, that I learned the culture of this. I learned a lot of lessons by us using this as a model for ourselves, because this is humans interacting with a blockchain. And there's a lot to be learned there. Again, we're on a frontier. And the reward DAO came from trying to use this milestone process, right? Because I had to address the issue that no one wants to say how much they're going to be paid before actually doing the work. They wanted to do it afterwards. And now, because of that lesson, we got to do this. And if we get all of each other to have to use this, let me say, it'll be a lot easier to get all of us to use this if we spend some time on it and make it better. And the lessons that we derive from that exercise, because it is an exercise, will help us in the real game, right? It's a practice. It's an exercise. It's training. And it sucks, and we don't want to do it, but I want to win. And it takes practice and training.
Okay.
But if it sucks all the time, then no one will use it.
Yeah.
So your question, I think the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
It has to be changed.
But we also do have certain deadlines or times we want to make.
Twice the work.
Right? Because
yeah.
And I'm asking us as someone who's responsible for developers, because I'm sorry, you're now the lead. Okay, you're now the lead. This is yours. This is yours.
Well, wait,
that's not mine anymore.
We gotta look at our team here.
That's okay.
There are 4 non-coders, 4 non-devs. I guess 5 would count Church. And we have a lot of dev resources, honestly, compared to this. But
yeah, we can figure it out. Now that we know that it's important, to at least bring it up to more usable so that we're going to be using it ourselves. I think it's ambitious, but it's a good plan. You're right, we'll probably learn a ton. But yeah, we'll be together more people than we have in this room to pull it off, but I think we'll be able to.
My Ether wallet is still a collection of links and text, a dapp, and it started like this and it just evolved. They probably will have a Flash interface at one point.
yeah, no, they're working on 4.0 right now. Yeah, this should be pushed in the month.
But it's used by millions of people, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like there's some solid, easy wins, and so yeah, we'll take those. It'd be nice if someone else that's not you guys does it anyways. That way we can help kind of train ourselves, and then use those in the next thing. So it's a good thing to have. But yeah,
I think having a list of like must-haves too, versus things that are like, oh, this would be nice, maybe worthwhile to do, but maybe not as worthwhile.
Okay. And maybe, I mean, how hard would it be if we wanted to make a couple of changes to the smart contract? How hard would that be?
Well, you need to redeploy all the smart contracts. That's your problem.
Well, we could have
replace all the master contracts.
I mean, for some of them.
I think it's mainly the smart contract is simplifying the smart contract. So from my side, in 2 days, we need to define how we remove that stuff, but that should not be a problem. We can add directly the add milestone, remove milestone, if we use it that way.
One of the main things that
we are not using, it's not different, it's not a milestone.
I think that we can I think we can avoid redeploying if one of the high pry ones, at least I think it's a high pry, is integrating the multi-sig UI.
This is.
If we did that, we wouldn't have to change the. I mean, that itself is an important exercise to practice and do one before we do it live, I think. And if we were able to do that, I think that we could avoid changing the multi-sig or changing the milestone tracker.
Okay, for the multi-sigs, okay, is for the multi-sigs, there is like one component that we need to write. We wanted to write in this, and we start writing in some place a little bit in the middle of I don't know exactly the status is there. It's the middle, but the idea is that any button, any action that you can do in the blockchain, because the governance, when we say that, is not you can do that action as a user, but you can also do that action as a multisig, or if you want as a dapp. Okay, so it's like it should be like a component, like a button, a special component that's usable in any dapp, and we need to work on that. Okay, that is making an action, but when you push the button, you need to, you need to decide how do you want to make that action. You as an individual, you as a multisig, you as a DAO, or maybe you want to make a proposal, or maybe it's you're doing it that you're pushing that button and somebody already pushed it in the multisig, for example, and the only thing that you want to do is just to confirm. At the end is one action, because the transaction that I want to execute is that. But how do I want to execute that? This is much more complex. Okay, but standardize that and having solving that problem for any button that's in any dapp that always do that part. I think this is a step forward for any dapp. Okay, so thinking on that, not for this dapp, thinking that as a component that we will reuse in any dapp that we do from now on. I think that's it's one thing that we will have to do at some point.
Yes, I agree. The only the blocking point for that is that right now the milestone tracker UI uses a Giveth directory which extracts the state, and we need to modify the state. And only you can do it because only you can publish the NPM package. And this should be changed. All the packages should be under Giveth. The NPM packages. And we should set up continuous integration.
On the
Have
what?
you guys ever had continuous integration on it?
No.
But how you do that with an NPM?
You can set up on the GitHub, you can set up the CI which published it.
You publish the CI, publish the automatically the Okay, just show me how you do that. I never did that before. Okay. Okay, great.
Some of these are all great things that we can solve on the current dapps. So sounds like we already have our workout for this.
Yeah. In general, all the version control in general, is a thing that we need to solve. There is some packages also to work very much. All this, this is git pull of everything, changing the versions and all that stuff.
Exactly.
There are specific packages, I will tell you the name, that are explicitly to solve that situation.
And we have also a lot of pull requests, which I had to look at, but I can't merge them because it's not me who should merge them.
Yeah.
We should also review that.
The merge process.
No, all the repositories we have, and because there are people in the community who are trying to help us, right?
Yeah.
Can we take a look at it right now, or is it too much?
Well, I mean, we can, sure.
Is there like a quick review or just an idea?
So, okay, we have the milestone tracker UI where I'm merging right now. Then I think we have a Giveth directory where we also have two pull requests. One from Jason ages ago, and another one from Rodney.
This is long time ago.
Okay.
Oh, KKS. Okay. Then I've seen some more. I think in the bulk contract. Is there an icon for pull request? I think Vault contract has some pull requests. Again, like I just don't know what to do with it. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's small changes, and since this is even worse because this is a contract that probably people use, and when you make even small change like that, the hash of the contract changes and everything.
Yeah, I told him not to, basically. I mean, I think it's in those comments. I told him no. But again, like, that's Jordi's contract. I'm with you. I can't say
Exactly. So this is something we need to absolutely resolve. Mm-hmm. And it affects, right now, it fully affects the milestone tracker UI, because if we do want to change something on the backend side, or the way that this data are extracted, we do need to modify those packages.
I think that we can make the design decision to not change the smart contracts. I think we can work around smart contracts.
Okay.
It depends. Means that I would have to change them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just for the current dapp. I think we can. I think we could.
There is the thing is that
maybe the director. Yes.
But the thing is that not modifying, I'm talking especially with the milestone contract. Okay, there is one big part of that milestone contract that we are not using, this donor commitment. Okay, we're not removing that.
No, but I want to use that.
Yeah, okay.
Because like this reviewer, like when you have to get a reviewer and bounce off of it, I want that person to be able to.
Not the reviewer. I'm talking about the donor.
I know, but
the donor put money there because there is a list of milestones and it's a commitment with a list of milestones.
Okay,
if you change the list of milestones, then maybe I'm as a donor. I know
exactly. I understand exactly what you're saying. That you're referring to the donor, which is the person who accepts the proposed milestones. And what I'm saying is, I want that to basically still be there, but be the reviewer, right? And the same person that reviews it at the end is the person that accepts it in the beginning. And we can have that without changing the milestone tracker. If we put a multi-sig there and just do a workaround, a 1 of 11 multi-sig, anyone can accept it. It's a small workaround, but then the person who is the reviewer can click that button. And I do like that process. And I do want there to be this, like, I'll propose something, what do you think? I agree, in a different time zone, you know? And then we have the next movements, and all the movements are still the same. But if we have a multi-sig there, then we can have more flexibility.
I think that the smart contracts we cannot change, or we can just leave them as they are for now, because the community and the user interface need to catch up with them. That's so probably good not to change them. But if we do want to change them, the first change that we should make is to use the delegate call so that we can upgrade them more easily. So you can rewrite the contract, so we use the delegate call and then you just delegate an address. And then the next time we update it, we just change that address.
Is that like a proxy contract?
Yeah, proxy contracts.
So let's write after Metropolis on that.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, let's finish this, okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's status from me. I think that now it's clear that we need to make changes. Normally I would go through the Trello and assess those, but what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to ask you, every one of you, to open the Trello. All of you have access.
Yeah.
And Griff right now adds another list, which will say what is important from me, like what, and everyone will add a card that they think that the current app should improve.
You want to do the current dapp interview for requirements right now, here and now?
Yeah. We all have computers. Let's go to Trello. I think that everyone going to Trello is a great exercise in general. Because I bet many people don't go to Trello very often.
We can switch for this one.
This is the way to get some work to do.
Yeah, I guess we're doing the exercise right now.
Yeah, let's go to Trello. Oh, baby Trello.
Okay.
So what did you want it to do? You wanted us to say that say which ones are high pri or not, or
No, sorry.
I think it was a new list of requirements. Was it not?
Yeah.
More important to you.
The new requirement that's not on the high priority list that's important to you. That
Exactly.
has.
I'll edit this.
what about if I wanted to say new list of requirements? Okay.
You can rename it. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. What if I wanted to move stuff off the high pri because I don't think it's high pri?
Oh. Okay.
That's
do it.
especially useful.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
You have our permission.
Alternatively, we could leave people do it now or later, and tomorrow review and put cards to high priority. So construct a high priority ourselves. Do it a little bit more like a sprint.
I think the first one is a high priority one.
And it's already there.
But that should be part of the list.
That automated solution for a node like that involves integrating a wallet and everything, right? You can't use it without MetaMask unless you have the wallet integrated in it.
These are great. Whoever added to the high pri list, great job.
You can't find one to get rid of.
No, I got rid of one.
One.
So there was one that I was like,
Thanks, buddy.
no, that's a waste of time. It's the currency one. Like it would be cool, but okay. So I got rid of two.
So I believe this too is done.
Is it in complete?
Yeah, I think no, it should be. Okay, it's not. Okay, but maybe rather than doing it right now, yeah, I think it's better to ask you to do it alone.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That soon looks like I'm the only one doing it. Although I thought maybe Jordi might have some ideas for this.
About the
Which
current
one?
dapp.
I'm just happy everyone opened travel.
Jordi, you had the one about having that's not maybe your highest priority, but
Which one?
having the button that lets you choose whether you're a DAO or whatever.
Oh yeah.
This is complex. So this is not an easy. This is not something that you can do it in 1 hour. Okay.
Gotcha.
This may take a couple of weeks working with a couple of persons here at least. Okay. We start doing something. I thought that more or less we had a semi-solution, but just was like a patch.
We did. The problem is that you've extracted the wrong address from me.
I fixed the wrong.
You extracted the wrong address for me into the status, so into the actions you put actually the wrong address for the multisig.
The wrong address of the multisig.
for multi-sig.
But anyway, the way that I implement that was for me was like and I'm not proud of it. It's like a patch that we add later here, and it should be written in the right way. Okay, it's like it was like let's solve this for this situation. I more or less think in there, but it was not like a full, complete, nice, clean solution. There was more something that we need to think. I think we need to think about that specifically because this is something that is not for this dapp. It's for any dapp, and we need to do that in the right way. And problem of all of this, or of everything that's here, I think the problem is what takes more. Is what's doable and takes more time. Okay, there are things that I don't know if they are even doable. No, I don't know if MetaMask informs you when you change.
Yes,
it does.
It should, yeah. It should.
It's like
you researched it.
Sorry, you have to poll for it. Or
I think I've researched it. I think they throw in at that. Yes.
If you can do pooling always, but it's like this kind of problems. It's
1990.
Right.
I mean, yeah, just like throwing up something every time there's a transaction that happens. Even though they got the proof from MetaMask, it'd still be nice to have the transaction ID come on the screen, if that's possible.
Yeah. I think that's there as well. Yeah. Okay, but Griff, for sure, we will also have to review these because cache and autofill everything possible is not clear. That's not a clear task.
Autofill. Like if I type something once, it should come as a drop down. What words do you say for that?
Should your browser should do that.
My browser doesn't do that. Why can't the dapp do that? Really?
Your browser does do that. Is there a reason why your browser's not doing it? Is there maybe something wrong with the tab?
My browser does it for lots of every other thing.
For example, if I try that, okay, let me open it. No, I think I'm still running.
Should we time it?
No, this one should read it from the local, and it's usually very fast. So if I start adding this, and here I write HTTP,
nothing pops up.
Ah, interesting. Oh, because I'm in private mode, sorry. But it actually does.
Well, maybe
For
it's
me,
the
it
new
does,
one.
yeah.
Maybe it's the new one because I just started using this new one. And for the old one,
Okay.
and I get it on other things, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. But like, should the autofill also, for example, when you're adding a milestone here, should it autofill the vault and stuff like that? If you could write that in the trial, would it?
Okay. Is there anything else we want on the state of the current dapp?
Lost of feelings.
So how do we add a milestone?
Mouse is good. It's good to get everyone's
There's
feedback.
another
I feel like
milestone button.
we have to pursue
But
both. We have to
need
do
get the
both
milestone up so that
this
everyone can have a milestone.
building on top of this, and we have to start building the new thing kind of
Right
immediately.
now,
And so I don't know how
This is
to divide our
purchase
forces
order.
yet, but I'm sure we'll get together and figure it out.
He's gonna do it from key.
I'm
And
almost
I would love
inclining
to
to
spend some time on that.
finish that, fix
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
that for November, for Cancun, plus have a concept of
I guess that would be a decision. I guess that I would be okay with that. Definitely would simplify the job. I don't know if how other people feel about it, but
We can revisit this decision. Maybe I'm way uninformed.
uninformed about what.
Whether or not we should keep pushing on this current dapp. I feel like if we get the multi-sig solution, everything's easy.
Well, yeah. So I guess the second part, I guess, of the discussion is which of these are absolutely necessary. But either way, there's already enough work that we have to divide the forces pretty much immediately. Or it'd be nice to have people working on both. It's like, hey, take a current dapp thing and take a
So whoever is
dapp thing.
developing this one should also review the prototype.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll basically actively be developing both, kind of like, and then this is probably going to be better if you take away the fact that we don't have that many resources. We take that factor out of the equation and pretend like we have a bunch of resources. That's actually seems like the very smart way of doing it. You know, it's like we'll learn so much by working on the current dapp that we would have to wait to learn building it piece by piece on the second dapp. And it's a testament to how well this first dapp's built. And honestly, it's like I didn't know that there was so much functionality that we could use to like manage our own team of this thing. And so it's actually awesome. It's like go software. It's awesome when software works for you beyond when you think it will.
Okay. All right. I think I'll let Jordi go now.
Jordi, do you feel like telling us about the smart contract architecture that we have, the current state?
Or should we use it?
You want the short version or a long version?
Oh God.
The short.
The short one. Oh my God, you even have to ask that.
For the short version, I can read that.
Oops. Ooh, good. Thanks.
Do you need a computer connected to the thing, or you can just talk?
No, I can talk. It's very easy. Right now, it's very easy. Okay. The liquid pledging contract. Let's say.
Are you going to plug in, or are you going to?
You can plug it if you want.
For 3 seconds.
Yeah, no, because it's going to be very easy because at the end it's a smart contract. If you want to see code, it's like I just will explain exactly what's the status. Okay. Okay, I just try to the system that we talked the last meeting, the balloons part. Okay, we can now pledges. Okay, but I think in the smart contract is still nodes. But anyway, on this system, the idea is that I try to minimize as maximum as we can all the functionality. I know that we will have to add a lot of things on this. Okay, maybe we will have to redo this smart contract easily, depending on the needs and the function. Okay. For me, it's much more easy to write a smart contract than to write a document explaining what to do with the smart contract. It takes much more less. Okay, so it's like I just took smart contract as a way to write a document. Okay, it's my language. Okay, it's my first language is a smart contract. It's not English. Okay. Yeah, dude, it's something that it's maybe something strange, but it's what it is. And right now, it's like. All we have talked, it's already implemented there. So it's what we talk about the donor, about delegate, about the project, and about project manager and reviewer. So these 5 things, and then how you move from one balloon to the other. At the end, you are doing transfers. Okay. The smart contract is written. The tests are more or less written. Griff already go through the smart contract and more or less is. Let's say the first preliminary comment,
first draft, full draft of comments
on it, and I feel the feelings that I have about the smart contract is okay. I think it's an enough right now. I think it's an enough easy. Let's say not easy. It's an enough simple, not easy. Let's say simple smart contract. To work on. So it's like when you're programming and the things get simple, it's like a good sign that you are doing the things more or less okay. So it's let's see, it's a quite simple smart contract. That doesn't mean easy, and it's standards is quite simple. And my main worries about the smart contract, well, of course I know that there are things that needs to be added. One thing that needs to be added for sure is this kind of plugin architecture. That's some hooks that you can when you are funding a project or when you are extracting money from a project or whatever, it's like you must be able to block other smart contracts, for example, to create a token or to notify or to add something to a contract or to aggregate some data or whatever. But this will be provable. So this is what makes this provable. This needs to be done. Okay, need to work on that part. And probably the part that I'm more worried on, and it's the one that I'm just still, burning my mind on it, is that I'm not sure about how optimal this smart contract will be. Right now, and I will put you an example as you can imagine. Okay, if I have, let's say,
can you use the black?
Black.
If I have $10, okay, and $10 gives to a project, okay, here is like I have here. This is a project, okay, but this project has 10 balloons, okay. They are kept separately because at some point maybe this project is cancelled and you need to put it on the back. So I need to know exactly how much this one holds, okay. This is okay, there's no problem, just have more balloons. But the thing is, when this project wants to fund something, okay, he needs to choose which balloons. Okay, and then here the algorithm to choose which balloons can maybe I just can sort that for the biggest to lowest. 20, 10, 5 to 1, 0, 5. I want to fund, for example, 6. Okay, maybe that's one algorithm. It's just take the smallest that fits everything. Okay, for example, in this case, I take from 10. Okay, this could be one example of algorithm. I can take an average. So I can take maybe I want to make 6. 6 is like I don't know. Maybe it's 20% of all this stuff. So I take 20% of this, 20% of this, 20% of this, and I move all this money from these balloons to maybe these other projects.
Jordi,
I can follow you.
Jordi,
Sorry.
So, do you remember? Okay, so I'll review. So basically, there's 10 donors that donate to a project, and this project has to assign money to a specific milestone.
Okay.
And so they have to decide. This project has to decide, well, which money goes to this milestone. And do you remember what I actually used this as an example of something that should be decided by the culture, not necessarily what's best for the smart contract.
Yeah, but
anyway,
anyway.
I actually took this exact example because to me, I think it would be more effective to have either like have maximum one partial, right? So like, you know, you can take the project can decide however they want based off of things that aren't in the smart contract.
Yeah, I'm not deciding which is the best. So I'm not deciding which is the best algorithm. Okay, the only thing that I'm worried because for here is whatever you just do whatever. This can be decided by the user or can be absolutely transparent from the user. Maybe this smart project is just send 6 and underground, you know, without the user don't realize, but then the transaction that generated automatically does that. So this not even it has not.
Oh, I see.
It could even not be it could be not even a user interface thing. It just be just a way to work on things. Okay, but the problem on this is that depending on the algorithm that you choose here, you know, the blockchain has some limitations. Okay, and here is for 10 users, but imagine that there is 2,000 users, and you make an algorithm that take one from these 2,000, is you move a lot of information. Transactions are too big, and this is not. You know, it will have some kind of limitations here. What we choose, okay? So I just wanted to present you the problem, not the solution. I'm still thinking on that. This is the things that worries me about this smart contract. This kind of optimizations and this kind of issues. Maybe this should be done maybe in 2 transactions or 3 transactions. I'm also thinking that maybe these transactions could be. This is for Giveth, this is a donation. Maybe there are like miners that mines transactions for us for free. Who knows? And I don't care if this project is found now or tonight. Okay, so there are things, there are solutions, there are things that we can go on, but that we can think on. But the status. So I just wanted to present the status of the smart contract and what's worrying to me. It's how you think on that. So for me, it's like the 2 lines on this smart contract. For me, I have 3 lines. Of course, I'm waiting for the user interface to see that this smart contract matches what we are going to build, because maybe we are going to build something that has nothing to do with that. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is the plugin part. Okay, that I need to go on it and think on it, and also with the user interface and what we need is going to be necessary. And the third one, this is more like a message for Calm, and maybe if it's just that or some more technical, more smart blockchain stuff is, okay, here there are some challenges in optimizing that we may work on.
What about the other smart contracts?
Which are
The vault, the milestone tracker, the vault.
The vault. The vault is the vault. Okay, so the vault is, for me, it's the vault is a very simple smart contract that just holds the money and just takes the accountability of
Would you say it's done?
I would say that it's there is enough work in there to be usable in the project. Of course, when we do the real project, we will see if maybe there is something that's missing or something that's not necessary to use in the vault, and then we remove from the vault. Okay, but right now the vault has it has even more functionality than the one that we need for this.
Mm-hmm. What about the Minimi token?
Minimi token. Okay, well, Minimi token. The biggest issue, so the biggest change that has been in the last 6 months, mainly was because of a bug that what's the name of the
Jacob from Alice.
Jacob from Alice's phone. Okay, it was a very
he goes by Cuba.
Okay, well, there was a small bug that was found in the Minimi contract that when you clone a token, depending how you are doing, somebody, if mine a transaction in the same block, could steal some tokens at some very specific and very difficult to get situation on that. Okay, and this was discovered just before the Aragon's sale. It was so small and it had a good enough workaround that the Aragon guys don't even redeploy that contract. We analyzed that, we analyzed it together, and it's a kind of bug that if you are aware of that bug, it's not such a bug. The only thing is that the user of that token needs to know that they cannot use it in that specific way. Okay, so it's.
But then you upgraded it to make it even better.
What I did is just fixing that bug. What I did is I changed the Minimi that right now you can clone the token in the future. So it's like I have a token now, okay, that has his balance, and I can create like another token.
To shorten this, I don't think we need to explain the details, but I will say, so we're currently using the older version, but we probably need to upgrade to the new.
No, probably not.
No, it's not. We may, if we have the opportunity to do it.
Like for the new dapp.
Yeah, I'm working very much in the next update will be the ERC 223. Okay, I'm working very actively in defining the ERC 223. There is a new version of the token that's going to use in the community. I'm working very hard on that. I'm pushing I'm pushing another EIP. That's the
165.
165. That's no. We created 165. We now discover a new way to do it better, and this is the new 667 or 669 with the new one that we pushed 2 days ago that substitutes the 165, and that's necessary for the new ERC token. Okay, so this is.
So Minimi is still going to change because it's going to include a new.
The idea that I have for Minimi is to be ERC 223 or whatever. Yeah. So the next version of the token that should include all this stuff, and it's going to be a moment that we need to upgrade that token, and then it's going to be a good moment to upgrade. Okay, but no, we are not going to upgrade for this.
In the vault, do we need to upgrade the vault?
The upgrade.
I think we have a new version of the vault.
The upgrade more than the vault. The problem, the thing is that I don't know what's the status of that, but there were campaigns that were mined that were using one version of a vault, and there are other campaigns that were using another version of a vault, and this is a mess.
Well, the problem is that the vault right now is hard-coded in the campaign deployer, so the data, basically the code of the contract is hard-coded there, and it doesn't correspond to any specific version in Git. So that's something that we should also solve, right?
Yeah,
How to upgrade that campaign deployer to deploy the latest one or the one selected, or we even allow people to select what version they want. I mean,
the problem, this vault was deployed by hand or just using the wrong version, and then we messed it up. Okay, so this was probably the best thing. The best thing to do in this case was because we don't really need the new version of the vault. It's not a security issue. It's just I think it was a field that we added in somewhere. The best thing is just cancel the campaign that has this new vault and redeploy it with the old vault, and then you have a fix.
And these are the My Ether Wallet campaign, the Alice campaign, and the Vault Bug Bounty campaign. The three that aren't Giveth.
I have no idea. Maybe right now
Is Giveth's main campaign that?
to be investigated.
Yeah, we can check.
this is one solution. Is if this is probably will be the solution if you detect that at the moment. Right now, if it's already deployed and it's using and so on, then the thing is that the user interface should have like a code that check if it's one version of the other and just adapt to that.
At
But
least it should say which version.
that's a sheet that you need to write there, and that sucks a little bit. Okay, but this is one thing that you need to take you need to be very aware when you're deploying smart contracts. What are you using? But anyway, this is one thing that we learn more.
And the milestone tracker.
Well, milestone tracker we talked very much before. There hasn't been no changes at all. And related to that, I think that the new approach that we are following is for everything is just simplifying. With these balloon systems, the idea is that instead of having a milestone tracker, it's a list of milestones. It will be more. Each milestone will be like a different project. Okay, so we are splitting very much all this functionality of having a list of can be removed very much, and we will just handle a single signal. So we are going to simplify a little bit that. We are going to use just a single milestone. This milestone is not done. And all this stuff of adding milestones, remove milestones, we're adding more projects, remove more projects. Okay. Mm-hmm. Here we lose a little bit the dependencies between milestones, but anyway we don't have it right now in the milestones, so we are not losing much on that. So we still have more or less the same that we have. Okay, I think we learn also from the other, and the idea is that it's not going to. I don't see here that exists the milestone as we think it. We think more as a project or as a milestone. It will be the real milestone. It's much more. The structure is much more simple. Mm-hmm. Even if the controller, the project controller of this or the reviewer of this, maybe it's another smart contract with specific rules for that project.
Yeah.
Maybe it's another reviewer. Maybe the reviewer that's something that queries to an Oracle. It's connected to. Or maybe the milestone is, or the project manager is something that limits the quantity of money that can be spent on whatever. So it will, or needs to be approved before happens something. Any logic that you need to apply to a specific project will be done in the project manager contract. Okay, and then here we will probably define different kind of project managers depending on the kind of milestone that we want to have. Okay, at the beginning it's going to be just a single user or multi-sig, but it can be a smart contract with a specific rules.
So you would say we're probably going to just rewrite the milestone tracker.
We are going to work around in some sense. So we are not going to use milestone tracker as we understand now the milestone tracker. No, it's integrated in some way in this ledger, plus some specific things.
This should be very much the output of the UI requirements.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay. Okay.
So we are, that's important. I'm waiting very much for the UI requirements because, okay, I'm doing a smart contract, but maybe it's absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, okay, I think it's an idea. It's enough developed. I think even more developed that should be. Okay, but right now it's a point that we need the UI and we need the product definition and be clear. Okay, this is the screen. This is what's going to work. This is what it's going to work. Then we'll see, okay, this is why it's going to work. This smart contract works or doesn't work, so we need this modification, or this we added this, or this to remove this. That. If we say, okay, the first version, we didn't use delegates, we can say that. Then I will take this smart contract and I will be like a branch without delegates, and I will simplify half of the code. Okay.
Cool.
Anything else?
No, I don't think. Anyway? Well, the only thing I want to add actually is that Barry is thinking about formally verifying the vault. So we'll talk, but I'm gonna throw him into the wolves maybe tomorrow morning when the camera's off.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah, he's just thinking about it.
Just thinking about it. It's just like another word testing. It's no different.
Yeah.
It's more difficult.
Well, should we go eat?
Yeah. Yes. People look their way, huh?
Yeah.
Nice to see you on this side.
It's based on what we.
Wait, so we
Going
have to
to
wait
be
for
okay.
Kai to
Wait for
sign
me,
off,
please.
right?
I was just. Oh, you did it?
Hurry up!
Oh no, you can do it.
The way we do it is like this. How many people one is watching? So okay, let's just.
0, I assume.
Think no 1. But we have you will get the statistics soon.
Thanks, Jordi.
No,
What is it called? Like 10?
no.
10
No, absolutely.
AM.
Just
What's
need the update.
European Standard Time?
If you want, I can go through
Something like that.
At 10 AM Barcelona time. I don't know.
Just so that people are informed and we have like a
It's good to know. This,